fantastic. And what you're sharing with us, Michelle, is a compelling, ambitious journey to success. It's highly illuminating, fascinating, and such an incredibly instructive guidepost to greatness. But let's talk a little bit about economics right now.
Sure.
What do you feel will be the adequate address to the crippling economic issues prevalent among people today?
I think, Tammy, there's not enough educational and training opportunities for those out there. I think we need to spend more money on educating people and training people so they have better life skill sets, so they can get better jobs, increase their income, and be productive in this society. There's a huge gap, obviously, between the rich and the people that have no money. And I think training and educating, I think there needs to be more funding in those two areas to help, like I said, build skill sets so more people can be employed and have a better quality of life.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with that. It's about education, it's about financial literacy, and even though we have so much information on the World Wide Web, people are really not getting how to be able to diversify their portfolio. So we have to go in and unlock those economic powerhouses to empower the people financially and educate them. And because so many people really need that guidance of what direction to go in with their finances, and it's the lack of education. And so what you shared is very key, and it's a strong foundation of what we need to have that knowledge and skills as well as real-world experiences to be able to create the wealth that is so rightfully deserved so people can have that quality of life that they so want to have, been looking for.
Exactly.
I truly agree with you, what you're sharing with that, because so many people are going through these economic morass in their life, economic inequalities and disparities as well. So that's truly profound what you're sharing with the listening audience about economics, and it's a bold and brilliant grand strategy of action that can be executed by anyone who is willing and able to develop a personal sense of economic intelligence, intense work ethics that will allow them to take the will of their lives and drive forward towards their own best destiny. There you go.
Yes.
Michelle, this is Candace, Michelle, and I just wanted to thank you for being so transparent with the audience today. There are a few things that I was hearing as you were sharing your journey with us thus far with your brand and your business. And one of the things when you were talking about, not having a vacation and how committed you have to be, and the thing that popped in my mind was, it's so funny how we forget as entrepreneurs that we're actually, if you really think of the motif, or if you think of life as being birthing, right? You're birthing these ideas. And if you think of what you birth through your business, right, it's a process. You just don't have a newborn child and tell it to walk, right? And so, I love what you shared, and all I could think about, I was like, man, our children really never get to a place until they're about kindergarten, right? Like that threshold. And I was thinking about, how you were able to say, I have to grow up as my child, this business, this God-given inspired idea that I got. And over the course of the years, not only were you able to nurture the baby in its infancy, right? You follow me with this. And then you were able to say, you know what, I have to be flexible because every child is different. And as they grow, I may need to put on new clothes, right? I might need to put on a new way of looking at this thing. I may need a nanny, right? I might need some help, right, to help me rear this child. And what I love what you've done with Luvafoodie and all of your different ventures, that you not only were you in tune with your audience, with the demographic or the people you serve and the community you service, but that you also listen to your heart. And what I mean by that is when you had something that impacted you, right, and it turned you into being an advocate, and you said, I'm going to be conscious about what I'm doing, and Luvafoodie turned into this total, motivation, a movement. Not only can we love food and love each other, but we can love life. And how do we love life? Let's look at these products that are going to be best, life-changing and giving life to people and extending life. And I love even what you did with your pet, your dog. It's just so beautiful to hear. And just thank you for being so transparent with us today. And I have a question.
Sure, absolutely.
Because something you said also, being in corporate America, everybody can, attest to this. Things change. And again, I said you were very flexible. And, you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to this. And you talked about branding. And so from your perspective, Michelle, because you can really speak to this, from your perspective, how can someone today brand that new idea, that business, right, that endeavor they've always wanted to try? How can they do that today?
Well, I think first you have to have an extreme passion and be authentic about whatever it is that your brand is, or that a brand that you're trying to launch. For me, Luvafoodie is Michelle Mazzara. They're one and the same. And so everything I do is it's just who I am, and the brand is so easy it's so, like you said, transparent, that when I'm in the stores and I'm communicating with people, or I'm in front of other heart survivors or other women, or other pet parents, it's really just speaking from your heart. And I think authenticity and having a passion are the two main ingredients you need to have in order to build a brand. If you have those, and you really believe in your brand, and you speak it, and you live it, and you breathe it every day, then those are the foundations that you need in order to, I think, really make a brand successful. If you can't be in it halfway. You can't be in the water, halfway. You have to get really deep into the water, and you have to really believe it, and believe it where you from head to toe, and just be true to it and be authentic, because people love a story, but if you're trying to make it up along the way, or you're not true, the brand won't be successful.
I love that.
Yeah, I think you have to be passionate and authentic, and if you have those two ingredients, then I think you have a chance.
I totally agree with that sentiment, and I know Tammy wants to chime in, because we always talk about on her show, that those two things, that authenticity and the passion. You cannot be on all the time. You can't be pitching something that's not in you. It's not a pitch if it's a part of your purpose. Now that's good right there. It's not a pitch if it's a part of your purpose.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, it's a good line. We'll have to write that one down.
So yeah, I really appreciate that, Tammy. I'm going to give the mic to you, because I know you want to speak to this. She's so awesome with this concept of branding.
We are a brand, and we have to be consistent with our brand, even when we think people are really not paying attention. Consistency is the key. So when you look at some of the most recognizable brands out there, like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, the key is their consistency. And even in the fast-changing world of branding and marketing, we have to remain relevant and flexible and consistent. And we have to set standards for our brand, that we will have a grand strategy. And when I say a grand strategy, we have to have a well-defined, executed brand strategy plan, and have these techniques and tactics in place to be able to enhance our brand. But like I said, the key is consistency. And many businesses tend to put the cart before the horse and not be able to focus on their strategies and their techniques, but you have to remain flexible, even in marketing. So what you said is very, very key, Michelle, to branding. And so with that in mind, I have to say it's truly astonishing. It's profoundly simple, but simply profound way of leaving a lasting impression in the hearts and minds of our target audience.
Yes, I would agree.
Yes, absolutely. There you go.
Now, Michelle Mazzara, you are an inspirational woman. I can hear it in your voice. I can see it with your testimonial about heart disease, and how you said, I'm going to shift. I'm going to change. I believe in miracles. Who inspires Michelle Mazzara? Who inspires you? Who were those role models in your life? And if you could just share that with the listening audience today, because everyone needs some sort and source of inspiration.
Sure. Well, I think from a young age, the work ethic that I have, it was inspired by my parents. They were very and are hardworking, and so I think that's important to mention from an early age is that I had that work ethic because I saw, both my mother and father work very hard. So, and I think when you're going to be an entrepreneur and you're going to start a company or a brand, you better have a really hard work ethic, because you can't do this unless you are going to really work a lot of hours in the beginning. And probably most entrepreneurs that I know, even when they have resources, they're still working a lot because it's in their blood. They just, to some extent, we can't help it. So my parents, as far as another inspirational person was my grandma, my dad's mom. She worked very, very hard. She lost her husband when her children were very little. He died of a heart attack, and she worked as a waitress at night, and so she could be with her kids during the day, and she had very little money, but she cooked and she baked and she made the most fabulous Italian food. When I'm half Italian, and she was a wonderful baker. And even though she didn't have very much money, she always was very generous with her food and her cookies and her baked goods, and that was her way of showing her love. And so I learned at a very young age that food symbolized love to her, and it was a way of sharing. And so I think from an inspirational standpoint, I've been a foodie from a very, very young age, and I learned how food and sharing that with others is really one of the highest forms of love. So to answer your question, I would say my family, and then of course there's other people like Oprah Winfrey, who are extraordinary role models for all of us as women who are entrepreneurs, and everyone knows Oprah's story, so I don't have to repeat that, but she is an inspiration to me too.
Absolutely, and what you shared, Michelle, is incredible. These kind of individuals of stature should truly be carved in stone, so that their life legacy of servant leadership and sacrifice might never be lost to mankind. And I appreciate your honesty, because honesty is the bedrock of a good relationship, and you mentioned about sharing the love, and you definitely have shared that with this show. And as far as your gift of giving, when you sent your beautiful cookbook and your different seasonings and your rubs and your seasoning rubs, and as well as your Belgian chocolate, which is amazing. So I thank you very, very much for the gift that you have sent me, and may God continue to bless you 100-fold and bless your family as well.
Thank you.
That.
Thank you very much.
And what are the root cause of limited patterns of thought that impact effective entrepreneur and solution-based personal and business outcomes?
I think you have to, number one, to be effective, is you have to be a problem solver. You have to be able to come up with solutions to problems in order to be effective, and avoid negative thinking. You have to also have extreme drive and ambition in order to be successful, and you have to be willing to get up when you fail, because we all fail, and at different times in our lives, and some of us fail a lot of times. And so I think to be effective, you have to have that spirit of not giving up and believing that, tomorrow is a new day. But the core of that is you have to come up with solutions to any problems to be effective, and as an entrepreneur and also in your personal life.
Yes, and you're so right. We have to find our voice, and this is the purpose for us having shows like Millionaires in Training, because we are trying to emancipate the minds of the people, change the mindsets, to have this positive mindset, and to change your thoughts and watch what you're speaking out of your mouth, because words are very powerful. And so we have to be mindful of that. We have to, sometimes people have to they have these different voices that they internalize, and you have to be mindful of the voices that you are internalizing. But to avoid negative self-talk as well. But also center yourself around people who believe in your vision and your goals.